Welcome to The Power of PR, how to raise your profile and profits with free media placements, presented by CanWCC member and trusted partner, Aliya Jiwan-Thawer of AJT Communications. So have you ever dreamed of seeing your products and services highlighted in top tier media outlets? According to the Content Marketing Institute, 70% of consumers would rather get to know a company via articles rather than ads. So in this webinar, you will discover how to secure free media placements on your own without hiring an agency, what journalists are looking for, and what it takes to have a journalist say yes, and how to know when you're ready for PR. You'll know how to determine your PR angle and your news hook. You'll learn how to secure coveted spots in the hottest gift guides and product roundups without any PR experience. Let's get started. My name is Jenna Clockley. I am the Director of Membership and Community here at the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce, or CanWCC, as we call it for short. My pronouns are she, her, and I live and work on the unceded lands of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Ojai Cree, the Dakota, and the Dene peoples, and home to the Métis Nation, which is covered in Treaty 1, colonially known as Winnipeg, Manitoba. And if you're looking for the lands you are on, you can visit native-land.ca for the treaties and the original keepers of what is known today as Canada. The Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce is the first and only chamber of commerce for diverse women identified and non-binary business owners. And as a chamber of commerce, we represent your needs with the government, and our position and title as a chamber give us access to those people who impact change across the country. We exist to improve the quality of life for the over 1 million entrepreneurial Canadian women through advocacy with policymakers, and we aim to build a healthier and more inclusive Canadian economy. We are here to amplify the stories and the voices of diverse women and non-binary entrepreneurs and business owners, and to fight for their economic equity. And now let me introduce your host today, CanWCC member and trusted partner, Aliya Jiwan-Thawer. Aliya is an award-winning journalist with more than 20 years of experience in journalism and communications. As the founder of AJT Communications, a media relations firm, Aliya helps small business owners raise their profile and profit through earned media opportunities. She is well respected for her in-person and virtual media training, publicity, and presentation training workshops. With nearly a decade of experience as a television and radio news reporter, anchor, and producer with a prestigious networks such as CBC, CTV, and CP24, Aliya has gained valuable work experience in cities like Edmonton, Ottawa, Halifax, and Toronto. She has also worked at the CBC Bureau in London, England, and at SABC in Johannesburg, South Africa. So following a successful career in journalism, Aliya transferred her skills to public relations, where she has worked in both large and boutique PR agencies, creating and executing public and media relation campaigns across various industries, including finance, health, IT, education, childcare, corporate, and nonprofit sectors. Welcome, Aliya. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Jenna. Oh my God, I think all of us need to have someone like Jenna read our bios on a weekly basis because it's so uplifting. I actually am going to share a screen right now. Jenna, can I do that? Do you want to continue? Yes. It's not okay. Share. Okay. Thank you, Jenna. Now, I've written that bio myself. I've tweaked it. I've had countless people read that, but every time someone else reads it, you get a little tingly inside and you're like, wow, are they really talking about me? And I want you all right now to imagine if Jenna was a journalist, and instead of speaking to this audience here today, Jenna would be reaching out to her audience, which could be in the thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands, depending on the media outlet. Imagine the impact on your visibility if Jenna was talking about you, Eden, or Jennifer, or Deb, to her audience as a journalist. Imagine the impact on your visibility and on your credibility. That is the power of free media features. And that's what I'd like to talk about with you today. Now, I quickly browsed in the chat. I see some of you are doing some really exciting, interesting things. And I do truly believe that you could benefit from free media features. So I hope this is beneficial to you. If you do have any questions, I will make sure that we save some time after to go through those, okay? Now, Jenna already gave me a great introduction, but what I'm going to share with you today is really based on my experience on both ends. Being on the receiving end of media pitches, where I was covering the weekend news desk and all the pitches would come through and I would have to decide what we would cover and what we would not. But also as a reporter on daily news, I'd have to take that pitch to a morning story meeting and say to my producer, I think we should cover this. And it was either a yay or a nay, or it was like, yay, but not yet, maybe another day. And then on the other end, when I moved into the wonderful world of PR, I was then pitching journalists. Some of them were still contacts of mine from working in the newsroom, but some of them were for journalists I did not even know. So what did it take to secure that media coverage for my clients? I'm going to be sharing my learnings from there so that you can then apply that and go out and secure coverage on your own. But before we do that, I want to just go through some basics. Often people will come to me and say, I need a PR, I need a PR. And what they really think PR stands for is a press release. Now, a press release is a tool in the public relations toolbox, but that's not what PR stands for. It stands for public relations. And the truth is, we spend so much time getting publicity for our clients that we don't do a very good job in the PR industry of doing PR for PR to explain what exactly we do. My own children are like, what exactly do you do again? Like, you don't read the news anymore. What exactly do you do? And it's kind of complicated. There's all kinds of explanations online, but to make it simple, public relations is managing how others see and feel about a person, brand, or company. And we do that through various forms of strategic communications. So that could be social media, that could be crisis communications if there's some sort of crisis. But typically, when we think of public relations, we're actually thinking about media relations. We're reaching an audience and using the media as a conduit to get to our target audience. Media relations and media features is visibility. I stopped calling myself a PR expert years ago because what I really am is a visibility coach. I help people who are, unseen get visibility. If you are that amazing expert in your community, but no one knows about you, I help people to get to know, for others to get to know them. Okay. The other thing that's amazing about PR is it's amazing for SEO. Now, I'm not an SEO expert, but what I can tell you is this. Imagine you're featured by CTV News in Winnipeg. And they do the story, and it's a really great story. It's got national implications, so maybe other CTV affiliates will pick up the story. That reach doesn't stop there because the story runs that day and it's done. The reach doesn't stop there because often what happens is that TV story is accompanied by a CTV.ca story, an online story. And the media backlinks that come with that are invaluable. It's the visibility that just keeps on giving. It just keeps on giving. And the more the story gets shared, it stays on their website. It will, when people Google you, all these stories will start to come up with your name and your business name. So it's incredibly valuable. Another term that comes up when we talk about media relations is earned media. And I think it's very important that we distinguish this today because media relations is earned media. You don't pay for this coverage, okay? So if you earn this piece of coverage because you've pitched a journalist and they've approved of this story, there's no pay for play. There is another thing called paid media, which is essentially advertising. But what gets a little complicated, and I'll show you in a minute, is nowadays, a lot of paid media starts to kind of look like earned media. And so it's hard to decipher the two. And I'm going to talk a bit about that because it is an option. I'm not going to rain on anyone's parade who works in paid media because I'm not a paid media expert. I can't tell you what the return will be on your investment. I can tell you it's a lot of money. But here's what I can tell you. The difference between paid media and earned media is paid media is advertising. It's me saying, look at me, I am the best there is in this particular field. Whereas earned media is someone else saying, look at them, they're the best. You have earned that credibility because they've reviewed your pitch, they've reviewed your background, and they're like, yes, They are an expert. That third-party endorsement helps to build trust and credibility. So Jenna went through some stats about how people like to gather their information through articles more so than ads. Okay, so we talked about consumers. It's the same stats with decision makers. But I'm going to ask you personally, think about the last time you needed a plumber, or you needed a contractor, or maybe you needed your ducts cleaned and you've had so many scam phone calls, you're just not even sure who to call anymore. So what do? Well, there's two options. We can go online and we can find an expert, and that's fine. Back in the day, I'm dating myself, we'd open the yellow pages and we'd look through the listings, and some people had a big fancy ad and some were just a listing. So you could go that route. But what do most of us do? We go to our network and we say, hey, do you have a contractor you can recommend? Is there anyone you've used for duct cleaning? Our furnace broke down, our dishwasher broke down. Is there anyone you know? And sometimes it's not even your friends. How often have you gone on a Facebook page? I'm part of these mom pages in my community. I don't know most of these moms, but we're part of the same community. You'll go to them and say, hey, my dishwasher broke down. Can you recommend someone? And somehow we trust that third-party endorsement. They'll say, oh, yeah, I used someone. I just had someone come last week. Call this guy. And it works out for us. In the same way, media features play hold that same type of power. Yes, people can look at ads, but the stats show that consumers and business decision makers would rather get to know a company via articles than ads. Here's the tricky part. This looks like a news story. Okay? It's a great story. It's a news story in the Toronto Star. This is paid media. This is also a news story in the same publication. This is earned media. So the difference is one costs a lot of money and the other costs nothing. Now, if you're not using a PR agency, media features are free. So why would people go the paid route? Well, sometimes people say, no, I want guaranteed media coverage. And in traditional media relations, there is no such thing as guaranteed media coverage. So if anyone ever comes to you and says, I can guarantee you media coverage for free in this publication, I want you to turn around, run, and never look back, because it's not true. There will be a cost or something associated with it, because even my best of friends in the media industry will not run a story if it's not newsworthy, okay? So if you have money, extra money lying around, feel free to share the love, share the wealth with us, because you can purchase a paid media placement and have guaranteed coverage. The thing is, I'm a small business owner. I'm the daughter of 2 small business owners. I have dedicated my PR career to uplifting small business owners. And I want you to know today that you do not have to spend a lot of time or money to generate media publicity. It shouldn't cost you anything. They may ask you to pay and say, well, everyone's paying for these placements. And you can say, no, I'm not going to, because you can trust that if you're going to them with a newsworthy story idea, that you can secure this for free. And often a journalist will not ask you to pay. They'll usually send the sales department after you if you're approaching them from a really big company or a big organization, and they'll be like, oh, these guys have deep pockets. Maybe we can score some paid media placements with them. But as a small business owner or a startup, you don't have to worry that they're going to hit you up for money. They're going to look at it as you're going to them with a pitch. So while we're dispelling PR myths, I want to just get through a few before we talk about what you need to send to them. Okay, so please feel free to raise your hand or unmute or comment in the chat. True or false? You need media connections to generate media publicity. I see, is it Ida? Ida? Ida?
Yeah,
I don't
Ida.
pronounce. Ida?
Ida, yeah.
Okay, Ida says no. You do not need media connections to generate media publicity. Anyone else?
There's a few falses that are coming out in the chat.
They're false. So you don't need media connections. And I'll tell you this. Years ago, when I moved from journalism to PR, it was ingrained in us working in agency that you can't get media coverage without the connections. And to some extent, it was true in the sense that, there's so many people pitching journalists that when they see a familiar name, they're more likely to open that email because they can't get through all of them. But if you follow the news, you'll see that newsrooms are shrinking. They've had layoff after layoff after layoff. And so some of those connections that we always relied on to secure coverage for our clients are no longer there. So we need to just hustle as hard as PR experts to try and get coverage for our clients, regardless of who the journalist is. But the truth is, it doesn't matter how great the friendship or connection is. If it's not a good story, they're not going to cover it. It doesn't matter what your connections are. So you're right, it's false. You don't need media connections to generate media publicity. True or false? You need to be a big established company to generate media publicity. False. The truth is, some of my best PR stories that I've secured were for startups, not a big company, just like 1 or 2 people in the company. And the last one, you need a press release to generate media coverage. True or false? What does the chat say? I can see it. True or false? Anyone? No? You're right. There's no prize, but way to go, Ida. You do not need a press release to generate media coverage, but I'll tell you what you do need, okay? So the first one is the most important. You need a newsworthy hook, and we're going to spend a little bit more time talking about what that means. In terms of media materials, you could have a release if it warrants it. A release is a much more formal document. It's something you put on the newswire, you might put it on your website. There is a time and place for news releases. For startups and small business owners, I tend to lean more towards a media pitch, which is really just an email. And if you stick around till the end of this session, I'm actually going to provide you with a template that you can kind of fill in and use to send to the media yourself. But a release has value. A release can be used to make an announcement about major funding, and investors like that. It could be to make a major announcement. Maybe you have a new study or something that needs to be released. But really, most of the media coverage we secure can be secured with just a media pitch and has the critical information. It's as long as you've got the newsworthy elements to it, you're good. A media list is obviously critical because you want to know who you're pitching. Now, that media list doesn't need to be pages and pages and pages long. In fact, you could just have 5 journalists on the list, but as long as they're targeted, you're not going to send a health story to a sports reporter or a sports story to an arts and entertainment reporter. You want to make sure that you are doing your research. What do they cover? What have they covered in the past? And when I say know how to pitch, there's a few things to that. Number one, don't you think it would be great if you pitched a journalist and you acknowledged that you knew what they'd covered? So if they've covered something in that same space, to say, hey, I saw your story about XYZ. I thought you might be interested in this story about ABC because there is some natural connection to it. If you look them up and they are no longer covering that beat, don't pitch them because it's just going to go nowhere. It doesn't reflect well on you, and you're just wasting your time. So look up who's covering that particular space. Think about, what kind of stories they might be interested in, and then cater to that. Okay, so develop that media list. Also, when it comes to knowing how to pitch, we want to think a little bit about, for example, if you're pitching a reporter who covers the 6 o'clock news on TV, we're not going to call them or email them at 4 or 5 p.m. I can't tell you how many times that happened to me as a news reporter. I just ignored the calls and then I'd have to sit there and listen to my voicemail afterwards. But it never went anywhere. Any emails that came through at that time, I never saw them because it was just a very, very, very busy time. So we want to be strategic, earlier in the day. If it's an election day, don't pitch them about your business unless it has any connection to the election. We want to be really careful about timing, right? If there's something major happening, a major disaster, we need to just stop. So for example, when the pandemic happened, when everything locked down, there were a number of campaigns that were underway that they were supposed to hit send and go. And we halted everything because at that point, nothing else mattered. It didn't really matter about anything. There were so many other things. People were dying. There was so much uncertainty. So many businesses were impacted by the closures. There was so many other things that needed to be talked about. And so all of that had to go in the back burner. Some of that was a complete loss because it just wasn't relevant for a very, very, very long time. And then we had to pivot and think about, well, what are people talking about? What is relevant? So we're going to talk a bit more about the newsworthy thing because that's really, really important. In terms of following up, well, you can send out your release or your pitch to the journalist and then let them have some time to let it sink in. They're busy. Don't follow up the same day. I don't even follow up the next day. I usually give them a day or so. And then if you want, here's a pro tip. When you follow up, is there something more you can add that you didn't have in your first pitch? Something, a little extra tidbit. So for example, if I pitch something and then I'll go back and I'll say, I just wanted to follow up on this and see if you're interested. I just wanted to let you know, if it's a TV reporter, just wanted to let you know, we're happy to make arrangements for some visual opportunities and a photo op as well, if that helps with your story. And sometimes they'll reply and say, thanks so much for following up. Sometimes they won't reply. Sometimes they'll reply and say, I love this story, but I can't get to it right now. But if they don't reply, don't be discouraged. With PR, it takes a while. You're going to keep at it. You're going to keep refining. You're going to check. It could be your timing. It could be your angle. You're just going to keep refining and it will work. It might be the person you're pitching. So whatever you do, follow up. If it doesn't work, move on. Find something else. Find someone else. Often, even as someone in the business, I'll pitch something, I'll get nothing. A few days later, I'll do some research. I'll see someone else wrote something in that space. I'll follow up with them, and suddenly I've got a hit from my client. Okay. Media training is something that I am very passionate about because I'm biased. I'm a former journalist, but I'll tell you, when people secure media coverage, let's say you send out a pitch and you're thinking, oh, I might not get any hits. And all of a sudden a journalist replies and says, I love it. Are you available tomorrow for an interview? It's really, really hard as a reporter when someone you go to them and you say, I'm interested. You pitch it to your producer. They say yes. And then the spokesperson goes, I'm not really available, or can we do this next week? And we just don't end up doing the story. And when you dig a little further, now that I'm on the other end in PR, I understand that often it's that the person panicked. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What if I look like an idiot? What if I sound like a fool? What if they ask me a question I don't know how to answer? And so media training is critical. Media training helps you to prepare for the tough questions. It helps you to make the most of this opportunity. So if a journalist asks you a question, you can just answer the question, or you can answer the question and weave in something of value related to your business. So you're getting something out of it. Okay. Now I understand not everyone has the budget for media interview training, but at least prepare and think, if they ask me this question, what am I going to say? If you are dealing with a lot of nerves, you're really anxious about this experience, I would highly recommend hold off on pitching the media until we've addressed that. Okay. You want to stop and make sure that if you want people to believe that you are credible, that you're an expert, that you're an authority in this space, you need to sound that way. So I want you to work on that first. I welcome you to reach out to me if you want to talk about how to build up some confidence in that space as well. But I highly recommend you don't reach out to the media unless you're ready, because sometimes you'll think that they're not going to respond and they're going to get back to you right away because you've got a solid media pitch and you just got them at the right time. So you want to be ready for that interview. And once you get that coverage, I want you to spread the news. I want you to share it on your channels. I want you to repurpose that content for your channels. Share, 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 so that visibility continues. And then you repeat the process. Now you know what to do. Now you're going to find a different angle or a different timeline, and you're going to pitch it to the media. Now, what are journalists looking for? This is critical. If there is only one slide, this is the most important. And I want you to know I do have a handout for you. This exact slide is in there, so don't feel like you have to write everything down. Jenna is going to drop a link to that, a download of this handout, so that you have all this information handy, okay? So what are journalists looking for? Number one, it needs to be timely. It's called the news for a reason. It has to be something new and topical. And when we talk about timely, It could be that it's related to Valentine's Day or Blue Monday or the holidays, but timely also means if there's an announcement that comes out. So for example, last week, I think it was last week, all the days are blurring together now, they announced a GST holiday for 2 weeks. So right away, there were some reactive media opportunities. People jumped on and said, I want to provide commentary on this because I'm an expert in this, or I speak for this group of people. Well, one of the things that came out of it, which was a reactive PR opportunity, was someone speaking on behalf of small business owners and retailers saying, hang on, did anyone ever stop and think how hard this is for small business owners to quickly do a turnaround in the back end of their systems to accommodate, to make sure that they're not charging GST here? This announcement that Trump wants to charge 25% tariffs. This is topical. This is in the news right now. What can you talk about? November is Intimate Partner Violence Month. Are you an expert in this space? Can you provide tips or anything on the signs to look out for? That's timely as well. Tuesday is Giving Tuesday. I can't tell you how many nonprofits are pitching right now and are trying to get media coverage because Giving Tuesday is their hook to talk about this. The holidays is also a good time because, it's a time where people are feeling a little generous or people are struggling and people, are more inclined to talk about giving to the community. But this is a time where a lot of these stories come up. It's not that it's not newsworthy to talk about these charities the rest of the year, but we always need to find a hook. Why now? Okay, so imagine if you sent a story to a journalist and they said, this is a great story, but why now? And if it doesn't have to be told now, they'll just put it on the back burner and they may come back to it or they might not. So we want to make sure it's timely. Is it relevant? Does this impact anybody? So if you are working, I did some work in the past with people who specialize in acoustics. So their work was very, very specialized. So we would pitch that to engineering and architectural publications, building publications, all of that. But if there was something that was relevant to the general public, like how to mitigate, the noise in these new constructions or wood construction buildings, how to manage the noise between levels, that was something that was of interest to people in mainstream publications, and it was able to get some coverage in mainstream media. So it has to be relevant, okay? Unique is a fun one because every January 1st, you're going to see every paper is going to talk about the first baby born in Markham, the first baby born in Burnaby, the first baby born in, Cape Breton, because it's the first of something. It's something unique. It's also got that human interest to it too. It's cute and cuddly and everyone loves it. Then there's, the oldest woman celebrates her birthday, or the biggest of something, or the first of something. It's the first organization of this kind, right? So that uniqueness is also something that gives you that newsworthy edge. Trouble is something that I actually love to include in my pitches. Does it solve any sort of trouble or problem? So if you have a business, if you have a product or you have a service, and you identify a particular problem that people can relate to, and you are solving that problem, that's a really great way to get media coverage. So one example, a few years ago, we were talking about, or actually maybe it wasn't even a few years ago, but rising grocery prices, it affects all of us, right? It's relevant, it's topical, and a business comes out and they're selling boxes of ugly produce at beautiful prices. So we're now talking about a business that's solving a problem about high grocery prices. We're making sure that this produce doesn't go to waste. We're benefiting local farmers. It's newsworthy because it's solving so many, it's checking so many of these boxes. And human interest, well, what's in it for the audience? Why should people care, right? So you saw that story before where I talked about the worst roads. Well, first of all, it's unique in that, like, it's not the first or the biggest, but it's the worst. Like, the worst roads, everybody can relate to driving over potholes and oh, I know that road, it's terrible. The human interest in it is it affects all of us, right? If you drive in that community, the worst roads of your community are being announced in the news, it means something to you. And then usually they'll talk about solving a problem. So they'll say, you know what, the government is going to be investing X amount of money into fixing those roads. And so those stories tend to be very, very newsworthy. Here's a few examples of timely, kind of fun examples. So you see here this lawyer offering a unique Valentine's Day divorce promotion, a Detroit area law firm giving away a free divorce, what to talk about on Valentine's Day, just kind of fun stories that are not that easy to pitch on a regular basis. It's not really that, so they took advantage of these timely opportunities. This is a Toronto-based company. They make these adorable eco-friendly puppets, but it's not really something that people want to talk about all the time. So we leveraged Circular Economy Month as a hook. And we were able to get them some coverage locally to talk about, this Toronto business is turning trash into toys. So it was a great story. But it's hard to tell every day. It's not that it's not a great story. It's just we needed that timely hook to tell it. Now, we talked about the difference between media pitches and releases. This is a media release. It's a little bit more effort to write a media release. It's a more formal announcement. We can share all the valuable information in a pitch. But the reason I want to show you this is because this was actually my first interaction with the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. I was not a member yet. I was not a trusted partner yet. I actually reached out to them because I was asked to write this press release and put it out about how women-owned businesses are taking twice as long to recover from COVID-19. And so I said to them, it's a great story, but the person who was their spokesperson was a man. And I said, I think we should have an authority or some experts. So I reached out to the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. We had Nancy Wilson, the founder and CEO, available for interviews. We got a woman-owned business to speak about her experience. And so now we had something that was timely because this was in December 2020. The lockdown had happened earlier in the year. It was relevant. It affected a lot of people, not just women-owned businesses, but businesses in general. But this was specific to women-owned businesses. But what we also did to make it even more newsworthy is we had the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce offer some tips to help women-owned businesses recover to pre-pandemic levels. And so now we were also checking the bucket of solving a problem, okay? The results, we had national coverage with the Canadian press. We had the CBC, Breakfast Television in Toronto, Global News. It was amazing coverage about a really important topic. And to me, that's the most rewarding part of my job because often I don't take on a lot of PR work. I usually help people get their own PR. But, when I do take on PR work on retainer or supporting projects, I always want to make sure that it has impact. And so when we see that we are getting the word out about these impactful things, it's very meaningful to me. So now the magical question, why all of you are here, is PR for you? Are you ready for PR? I get people coming to me all the time. I don't know. Am I ready for PR? I think I'm too small for PR. I'm not sure. I'm not really an expert in anything. So my answer to you is this. PR is right for you if you can share knowledge about something. Okay? So about something. You don't need to have a PhD. You don't need any higher level education. You need to be an authority in your space and be able to speak with confidence about that particular topic. It could be naturopathic medicine, it could be mental health, it could be climate change, it could be a number of things, but you need to really own that topic, okay? I want you to think about it. Are you the best kept secret? Do you share an infinite amount of knowledge with people around you, with the immediate people around you, with your clients, and you need a visibility solution beyond social media so everyone else can benefit from your knowledge? And if so, 100% PR is for you. You could just be starting up as a business. You could be well established in business. You could have one person working, a solopreneur, or you could have 50 people working for you. It doesn't matter. This is what matters, is that you can speak with authority on a particular topic. The most important thing is that when you pitch the media, you're going to them with something newsworthy. So I'd love to take a few minutes right now to ask if there's anyone here, is there something newsworthy that you can share? And if you're not sure, I'm happy to talk it through with you here. And if we need a little bit more time to talk it through, towards the end, Jenna's going to drop a link to my calendar and we can book a time, and I'm happy to help you explore it and build out that idea further. But right now, is there something newsworthy you can share? And I'm going to put this slide back up of what journalists are looking for so it can help jog your memory. So is there anyone here that'd like to throw an idea out there and see, if there's something newsworthy that maybe you could talk about? I think there were a few things in the chat earlier too.
I'm happy to raise my hand.
Sure.
I think that was one of my questions in the chat, was what makes it newsworthy. So this slide is really, really cool, and I like the truth acronym to it. So I work in the mental health space, and so timeliness, the first thing that comes to mind is Mental Health Awareness Month. I had to Google it. So I see that's in May, because for me, every day is Mental Health Day, right? Like, it's not specific to a day. And I think October 10th is also a mental health day. So there's a few key dates.
Yeah.
And I actually work in burnout prevention. So I think there is quite a bit of relevance to that coming out of the pandemic around the holiday season. So I don't know if the holiday season or May or which day would make more sense. And the kind of the philosophy I have around burnout prevention is that we tend to burn out, and I define burnout as kind of that emotional exhaustion you feel, the overwhelm you feel, like where even getting a glass of water feels like, oh my God, I need to plan that into my day,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's a piece of dissatisfaction that comes in because you've done so much and you're not getting anything back, which is very much in line with how CanWCC defines burnout and other institutions. But the kind of my philosophy that helps, like, that I share with people so that they can recognize the telltale signs of burnout and they prevent it and change their mindset. So basically a mindset coach is the fact that burnout comes about when we prioritize everyone else at the expense of our own needs and desires. So I work with people on helping them find their own needs and desires, and I have a few kind of prompts that do 80% of my work, kind of thing. So would sharing those prompts, like in the scenario of solving a problem, I don't know if it's really unique. Like, what I do is something you probably can Google or talk to Chat GPT with. It's not extremely unique. It's very much, I think, more best practice than unique, I'd say, other than, I'm unique.
Well, Ida, I'll tell you,
we're all snowflakes.
You don't need to check off everything in this, okay? Yeah. So you could have only one of those things and make it newsworthy, okay? So you already raised a few opportunities, so don't limit yourself to one. I already heard, I think, like 5 or 6 opportunities for PR just when you were speaking. So when you talk about things like mental health, there are other opportunities in the calendar to talk about it that aren't as obvious. So there's Blue Monday, which is earlier in the year. We all know that time where, like, it's cold, it's dreary, there's really nothing to look forward to. It's hard. There's a lot of people who will pitch around that time as well. So it is a bit cluttered, but so is Mental Health Month. So you want to come through with something different. So when you talk about, like, signs to look out for and tips on how to overcome it, there's also other times of the year. The holidays can be a very, very stressful time. Particularly, I know a lot of moms at this time of year are literally going crazy, myself included, because work is really busy. You got to get all the presents. You got to deal. You're thinking about all of this. If you're hosting, if you're going to someone's house, what are you going to take? In my case, I'm thinking about, year-end donations and year-end expenses as a business. There's a lot. Burnout is real for a lot of people, and you don't need to limit it to months tied to mental health. Are there other times in the calendar that you want to talk about it? I don't know. Maybe we want to talk about it on Mother's Day. Are you dealing with a lot of burnt out moms? Is there a gift that you can give burnt out moms, or tips to help? So think outside the box. But what I want you to know is there are many, many opportunities there. And if you have some sort of method that that is unique to you, that you want to share,
Yeah.
That's very newsworthy as well, because that is unique to you. So there are a lot of people who are going to be pitching around Mental Health Month, but not everyone's going to have this method that is unique to you. So play that up.
Awesome.
There's
Thank
lots
you.
here. There's lots
That was
here.
wonderful.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yes, I would like to raise on the issue of newness and topical.
Yeah.
We are in educational support, and La Passerelle Global Bridges, we are looking at doing educational support for immigrant children or visible minority children failing in the Quebec French school system under Bill 101. And our proposal is to do after school and weekend support. One of the challenges is how to advertise or how to get the attention of parents, especially that I'm no longer in the school system. I know there's social media, for example, we are on Facebook, we are on, I think, Instagram, but I'm not sure that we're reaching out to the right audience, or how do we grab parents and other well-wishers who would want to support this after-school effort.
So, and you are based where?
I'm in Quebec.
In Quebec. Okay. So in Quebec, I would recommend, if you have any stats or anything about the struggles facing these newly arrived families, right? If you have any information, any data that identifies the problem, and if you don't have the data, it's okay. But you want to go to the media and identify the problem, because you can't offer a solution and market it as something newsworthy until you've identified the problem. Okay, so you're going to go to the media with the pitch. When you see the template, you'll see how I've kind of broken it down of how you can just email the media about this. You're going to talk about the problem first, and then you're going to say, here is the solution that we're offering. This is free, or it's at this price, whatever it may be. If you have any tips that you can share. So instead of making it about promoting your program, do you have a spokesperson who can go on the show and share tips for parents who are in this situation, for children who are in this situation, for educators? Show the value that you can offer so that people see it and they're like, these people know what they're talking about. I'm going to look them up so that I can sign my kid up for this program. We have to remember that we are not dealing with advertising. We are giving them news that they can use. And so by building this authority, that's how we get money. We're not going to go on there and be like an infomercial for $9.99. You can get this. That's not what media relations is. Media relations is building authority. So people trust you. They'll go to your website. They will look you up. Sometimes if you are offering a product rather than a service, you're not going to do PR on your product unless it's a gift guide. Imagine you have a product that it solves a problem around mental health. Let's talk about mental health because we were talking about that with Ida. When you reach out to the journalists, if you reach out to them and say, I have this great product and it's going to solve all these problems, they're not going to cover it. But if you go out to them and you say, hi, my name's Aliya. I'm the founder of blah, blah, blah company. We do whatever. In honor of Blue Monday, I would like to come on and talk about XYZ. I can offer tips to help burnt out parents who are looking for whatever. So you're offering value so that they can have a discussion with you on the show or do a story. But by virtue of saying, Aliya, the founder of this company that makes blah, 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 you are now getting visibility for your business. It's indirect visibility, but that's the credibility that will come, that will help you to propel your business forward. It's not advertising. Advertising, you just got to take out an ad and you got to shell out the money. Okay, does that help you?
Thank you very much.
Welcome. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. I'm not sure if you're soliciting anymore, but I have a, it feels pretty niche. It's a AI marketing automation company. And basically what we do is we automate marketing for solopreneurs and small businesses, particularly consultants and coaches. I know AI and is topical, but there's so much out there. So I'm wondering what is a unique spin, and it feels very, very technical. So I'm wondering how to how to make it more accessible?
So that's a good question, and it's kind of hard to think about it on the spot. I welcome you to book a time in my calendar so we can think it through further. But just off the top of my head, I want you to think a bit broader. So right now you're focused in on AI marketing. Think a bit broader about what are some of the questions people are asking about AI related to marketing or being a business owner. What are some of the concerns people might have? What are some opportunities? What are their objections? You know how they say when you do like SEO, look at the keyword searches. What are people looking up?
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about what those questions are, and then see if maybe there's a topic there that you can offer yourself as an expert to talk about. And then why are they having you there to talk? Well, because I have this business that does this. Like I'm an authority in this space. I've helped countless clients in this space, and I want to make sure that people understand that there's an opportunity here, or here are things to take into consideration or to keep in mind, or warnings, right? If there's any concerns that people should have that they don't. There's so many opportunities there, but I think sometimes what happens is when you're a business owner, you think very, very close to your business. And sometimes we have to take a step back and take like a bird's eye view and see, is there something bigger that we can talk about?
That's really helpful. Thank you. I'll
You're
do
welcome. You're welcome. So Jenna, just for the sake of time, I'm going to keep going. If there's time at the end, we'll take some more questions. And then if not, I do welcome you. If you do have more questions, I'm happy to chat afterwards as well. Okay. So how to get media coverage? Well, we talked about this. You could hire an agency or publicist. As somebody who has my own firm, I will tell you it's not cheap. And it's not out of reach for people, but it's not really a priority for a lot of people. And when a lot of people don't know if it's right for them, it's hard to make that investment. And so you could just do it yourself. And that's why, I've got this media pitch template for you. Jenna's going to drop a link to it in there, but I have to tell you, it's like 10 pages of goodness. It's got the first page has a template that you can just copy and paste into an email and fill in your own information. But if you want to make it even better, on all the subsequent pages, I've literally gone paragraph by paragraph and said, here's what you should and should not include. Here's what you should and should not include. So it's like having me on your shoulder as you write your own media pitch. And so you should be able to write your own pitch and send it out. There's also a checklist to verify, have you covered all your bases before you send it out? So you can do it on your own, okay? So here's a QR code to download it. I think Jenna's dropped a link in the chat as well for all of you so that you can get this media pitch template. I do recommend that you take it. I'll tell you, I offer this goodness up to people all the time, and sometimes people will download it and they don't do anything with it. But it's really like an add water and stir formula. If you open this document, it's really valuable. The other thing is, this is a link to my calendar. I have opened up 10 slots for free consultations. Jenna's also got a link to my calendar there as well. If you have an idea that might be newsworthy and you just want to think it through, or maybe you have a question that you didn't want to ask today in front of everyone, or you didn't get a chance to ask it, I welcome you to book a time in my calendar. I've booked I think they're 30-minute slots. I don't even remember. I've opened it up. This is a really busy time of year, so unfortunately it's not fully open. I'm helping clients build their PR strategies for 2025. But as part of my involvement as a trusted partner with the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce, it's the very least that I can do to offer these 10 free consultations. I'm really happy to chat with you. There are no sales obligations or anything like that. I really want to help you so that if you want to write your media pitch and you're not sure you've got a newsworthy hook, let's book a time to chat. Or maybe you write your pitch and you want me to review it. I'm happy to take a look at it. I'll give you some feedback. I'm brutally honest. I'm never going to tell you to go and send something to a journalist if I feel like it has no opportunity. I can't guarantee you that the journalist will cover it, but I can guarantee you that if you follow these steps and make sure that what you're sending is newsworthy and timely and topical, you have a shot at coverage. And finally, if you are not comfortable doing this on your own, my program, Be Your Own Publicist, is a fraction of the cost of a PR retainer. And as a member or a participant of this workshop today, I'm offering 25% off for this program. What it is normally this price would be offered for group coaching. I'm offering one-on-one coaching to small business owners and startups, where over a span of 4 weeks or longer if you want to spread it out, or shorter if you want to speed it up. I work with you one-on-one to come up with your newsworthy hook, for you to write your media pitch, develop your media list, develop your plan of action, and then you hit go and you send it out to the media. And then you can come back to me and ask for help if things aren't working, if we need to tweak the pitch, anything like that. So this is something that I'm offering right now at the end of the year for the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce. And I'm happy to offer this discount to everyone who's here today as well. So the QR code is there, but of course, Jenna, my lovely assistant, has also dropped the link in the chat. Now, I think we have a few minutes left, right, Jenna, for a question, or are we out of time?
Well, we're almost there, but if there's questions, now's your chance. Maybe
and also my email's here on the screen. Jenna's also offered my LinkedIn. So if you don't get a chance to ask the question now, or maybe we get off the Zoom and you're like, oh, should have asked Aliya this question, shoot me an email or reach out on LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer your questions. I saw very quickly in the chat some really cool ideas. I think there are some great PR opportunities for all of you. So I really do encourage you to reach out if you're not sure, so that you don't hold yourself back.
Yes, and Aliya's in the circle. You can also go on Circle, send a DM, read her profile. If you're a CanWCC annual member, you can access the discount on all of AJT's services. There's a discount there with all the details on it. I don't even know where to start, Aliya, because this was incredible. I think that even the just 5 minutes with somebody, with Ada, helping Ada work on that pitch, this is just such valuable work, and what a time of year to be sharing it with us. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for coming to present this excellent work.